There is hope tonight for the fight in the renewable energy debate. The entrepreneur turned political activist, Alexandra Fasulo, was on Capitol Hill this week advocating for upstate New York landowners. Now, I called her an entrepreneur turned political activist because it appeared that she had a book on Amazon that was not related to land use at all. It was how to turn your side hustle into a profitable business or something along that line of thought. So it was more in terms of economics and not uh, political activism. In any case, she was on Capitol Hill this week fighting for our rights here in upstate New York, representing upstate New York with the United States Department of Agriculture and high-ranking USDA officials there. Of note, she was in contact with country music star John Rich, who those of us who are 2000s kids will remember he was in the band Big and Rich and was one half of that, and they had, I believe, split up years ago, and I'm not sure why, but that is the same John Rich that you're thinking of there. But John Rich today, or right now, has been appointed by President Trump as special envoy for American landowners to represent and advocate the interests of farmers, ranchers, and private landowners to the president, basically to represent their interests in Washington on Capitol Hill. He has been a long-time supporter of President Trump and is now advocating for private landowners in Washington. They had announced as part of that meeting, and it was not in my notes here, I don't believe, more or less a method to streamline the process of filling out claims that landowners can fill out directly to the USDA when there is significant overreach by state and local officials, is what it looked like according to the USDA portal that came out. And because I did click on it in preparation of checking it out for the prep for this broadcast. So I'm trying to figure out where the notes are here. Here we go. That's what happens when you're a low budget operation. But so Alexandra Fasulo, I hope I'm getting her name right. It'd be embarrassing. Had started a 501c3 nonprofit called the American Land Rescue Fund to fight against state overreach. And it is a nonprofit dedicated to defending America's farmland, wildlife, and open spaces through the power of law. And she did speak about this yesterday in Washington, and Fox News picked it up and posted the comments and remarks along with the others there. And I don't know if the other big media would do that because they are on the other side anyway. In any case, she has filed a lawsuit here in New York State against ORES, the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, over the Fort Edward solar project. And in the documents for this lawsuit, it is with the Albany County Court stating that ORES and New York State, these bureaucratic agencies responsible for these FOIL requests that she submitted, withheld and redacted unnecessary environmental information. That is, they redacted information that would have been relevant to the case or relevant for voter knowledge or awareness about the environmental impacts of the this Fort Edward solar project. That was not covered under what is allowed to be omitted in a Freedom of Information Law request. Things like personal information, like if someone's address were to be on there, a private citizen, something like that can be redacted. Anything to do with national security, for example, is always permitted to be redacted. And she's in this lawsuit saying, no, that is not what is redacted. So her organization did an independent study. I don't know why these notes, and found the environmental impacts of the project anyway. There was a nonprofit institute called Hudsonia that did this study on behalf of, or prepared it for, the American Land Rescue Project. And it is a heavily referenced with an incredible amount of sources, both academic, government, across the board, with any kind of environmental source you could think of in terms of the geological impact, and all kinds of studies upon studies upon studies that you could, because I looked at the notes in the study, and what they concluded was that yes, there are significant environmental risks in the project, though noting that New York State is in a bind with its energy pool. But you can find more about the context here on this channel. But I want to highlight the work that Alexandra is doing for all of us here in upstate New York, myself included, because we own land up here, to fight against government overreach into home rule in our communities. And all of the information that I just described to you is available on her website, and she is very active across the board on social media, and has been asked to be on Newsmax and other major media outlets, Fox News included, as well.